Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here with us today. Before I begin, I'd like to thank Misha and the team at ID for having me here to moderate this amazing panel with all these stalwarts from our design industry. Today's topic of discussion is about the rising influence of interior design and curation in lifestyle, a topic I feel has never been more relevant than it is today. I recently read an article from the business of fashion that spoke about how home is the new fashion. Today, homes have become more of a status symbol and form of self-expression than fashion items. And honestly, I feel it's been more so post the pandemic. And that's what we're here to discuss today. So we are here with these three incredible designers, each of whom have shaped how we think of living spaces and identity. And before we get into the seriousness of this discussion, I'd like to ask each of you a personal question related to this topic. If you could describe one space or product in your home that you feel most authentically represents you, what would it be and what makes it uniquely you? Okay, let me start. Um, to me, Sukriti, home furnishings play a crucial role in the decor of any home space. In my home, I've played with the different colors, textures, and designs of our FabriCare collection, D-Decor by D-Decor. And just spending time in those spaces is very relaxing because the colors are very well coordinated. We have a variety of designs on colors from the FabriCare range, just enjoying the spaces, sitting there with the decor pieces which are curated, sourced globally from different countries across the world, Europe, India as well. And the home itself, it overlooks nature because we have large windows and a lot of natural greenery which overlooks the inside. So you feel you're in a garden space. The backdrop is white, so the colors have a good backdrop. And I've managed to, using the color palettes that FabriCare, offers, I've managed to put the colors well together and using a lot of matte colors and adding hints of sheen just to add a little luxe component to the space and against the white backdrop. So wherever I am in my home, I feel relaxed because it is a comfortable space. I don't have to worry about durability. It's practical because of the easy clean feature of FabriCare. So there are different spaces depending on my mood, whether it's in the mornings when I want to look out at the garden, or in the evening where I want to enjoy a different feeling and emotion. I depending on my mood, I choose space in my home. So fabrics to me is what I've played with in the different spaces in my home, and that is what brings the space alive. Lovely. But you can go now. Yep.
Where?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so for me, I would have to answer honestly and transparently, but in a way that maybe relates less to my company and the company that I represent. I've been creative director of Natuzzi the last almost decade, and the last 7 years, and I did approach my job and my task and my mission differently than how I approach my personal life, my personal space. So Natuzzi can be considered to some extent very casual and minimalist in blending design, function, and organic shapes, whereas I'm a very eclectic and maximalist, as you can maybe see from my desk. So, so my favorite room, I have to say, it was also for a house that it took me 4 years to renovate this apartment in Milan, and back then I was spring chicken, young, single, and that home was intended to be a home for hospitality and hosting people. Now I had a baby, my first newborn 7 weeks ago. Got married in June, so different situation. But that room there, my favorite one, is called the Chinese Lounge. Why? Because I love layering, contrast of material, textures. So this room is a room within the living room that I recreated with arches made of that Vienna kind of Bimini wood. I use these arches to welcome this three-dimensional space where you have these red curtains that open up into this little kind of a speakeasy lounge. And as a matter of fact, this is the house that happens to be at the center of every night, every party, every moment where friends are there. There's a little bar inside. And the funny thing is that I designed the chair. So there's this four little super couponing small chair, swivel chair, that I designed with my architects, co-designed with her. And then in the end, they ended up getting, it's maybe the first piece that I really thought for myself. And it ended up going in the Natuzzi collection. It's called Seashell Armchair. You will never find them as I interpreted for my house, because in my house they're tiger belted feathers. So they imagine like in the room, but yeah, maybe that's that's my favorite.
Lovely. I would love to visit your place one day, Pascal.
Anytime.
So I think for me, my home that I very fondly call my nest is for taking care and making everybody who walks into my space feel, energized with love and with a goodness of just feeling good. So I think that my special room in my home, in my nest, is my kitchen. I have designed my kitchen in such a way that we have these big glass windows that open up into the living space. So it's like an open kitchen plan, but my island is of this black Patagonia marbles, and it's insanely beautifully lights up, and it's got this overhead. We have this suspended shelf, and whenever I have a get together, I create a very beautiful open, kind of buffet of various hors d'oeuvres and cheeses that we make specially at home. My family is big on cooking. My mother, who's sitting here, she already has her own cookbooks, and my brother also is a fabulous cook. So I think that the kitchen, it's, for my kids, my friends, my people I love, I think it's the place where we all, come together. We have the best conversations. We share, and when you eat well, you're a happy person. So I think that my island in my kitchen is my favorite spot.
Yeah, I can so relate to that, and you know why? That is,
Oh yeah, yes, you can totally relate to
I
that.
think everybody who followed me on Instagram is sick of seeing my open kitchen. But I took the pain to find the right marble for that island, and it's the space where I can be myself before the day begins, then the day ends. So
Yeah, and I think that even having the aroma of what you're baking in the oven, or the fresh coffee being brewed, even that itself is luxury to me. When you're in a home, and the authenticity of the ingredients. So I definitely feel that for me, kitchen is my favorite spot. Yeah.
I absolutely agree. So, I mean, I love how you all have come up and spoken about all your lovely spaces that you've built to yourself, and I'd love to know the flip side to it as well. So I'll start with you, Suzanne. That how has it been? I mean, you've been designing homes for many years. How do you feel homes have transformed from functional spaces to expressions of personal identity now?
It's a very interesting question, and I would like to add that yes, being in the interior design industry as an interior designer for the last 20 years, I feel that I'm happy to see that we are at a very exciting time in India right now, where there's a great amount of talent, and there's a great amount of artistry and technology which are coming together in our part of the world. People are using beautiful natural materials, and the way they make their product, then the intricacy of that handmade product becomes so luxurious as itself. It is sometimes more important than buying it from a top-notch brand, because it's special to what it is. So I think that the the people who we design for, the families who we design for, they're slowly changing from just buying very expensive things to coming and, wanting to create products that make the family come together, or maybe have a discussion, or their heirlooms to take back with them for the next 20 years or whatever. So I think that, you can see that transition happening in the interior world, amongst of Indian families that we design for, we relate to. So I think that change is very exciting to see. There's a growth in the way they think. Yeah.
And Simone, do you see this differently as a brand owner of multiple brands? Like when people walk into your store, what are the silent communications happening? Like what is speaking to the consumer without saying a word? And do you feel people are shopping for objects or for an identity?
Well, Sukriti, when people walk into the Simone store, what they see is an environment which is inspired by nature. So there's a quiet calm, quiet luxury. It's a space where we have combined different materials, lots of textures, through home decor accessories, through fabrics, matte textures, objects with some sheen, color components which provide color pops. We have created coordinated settings, which involves dining, bedding, bedroom settings, living room settings. And to the ever-evolving consumer who is today well-traveled and extremely design-conscious, the consumer wants to see value. So what he looks for is beauty, and along with beauty, he looks at functionality, practicality, durability, which is why the performance brand FabriCare is introduced. And he needs to see the price. It has to be, competitive, and something that he sees value in before he purchases it. Also, he wants to have a choice because there is so much offering out there. There are Indian brands as well as global brands. So he wants to see a nice varied choice so he can compare. So we look at offering value to our customers. So this is why we want to produce good fabrics to the FabriCare Deco line, which are not just qualitative, but they are, affordable, and they provide comfort and super soft in their look and feel. And in the Simone store, we want to provide value by providing different home decor accessory, be it furniture. Sometimes I'm even purchasing furniture from Sussanne. She designs for me. And we have our, fabrics upholstered, and there'll be curate settings. And we add a lot of other accessories around. And the customer, when he looks at everything, he need not buy everything, but he picks and chooses what suits his lifestyle. And so the store is about, it's luxury, which is qualitative, which is in a very comfortable space, which is, for me, it had to be timeless beauty, which is continuous beautiful objects around you all the time. And it should be a thoughtful experience, most of all. When people walk away from the store and people buy our fabrics through the FabriCare range and line of offerings, they must go back and, enjoy that memory at the store. They must enjoy the fabric they use after using it. So this is very important. The memory that stays, the experience that stays with them after they have purchased the goods. And the service we provide post the sales, not pre-sales, but post the sales. So we're trying to do all of these things. Not easy to do, but we have a great team in place, and everybody does what they need to do. And we have fun doing it, which I think is most important. You just enjoy what you do.
And the reason why I asked you that question is also because I was there at the Simone store opening. I think this is in 2014. Now we were curious, celebrated our 11th year on the Red White House. Congratulations, yeah. So I was a few years into the business, and that was the time I was thinking of rebranding to Plüsch to create a company umbrella. And I loved how simple yet impactful the brand was. The main was the branding was, and location. Even when I walked into the store and walked out, like I still have that thought, and I still remember it. And Faisal, I'd love to know your perspective on this on an international scale, because you have stores across the globe. what has your experience been in different markets? Like, do you feel the need to localize? Do you feel people are looking for the same feeling when they're buying around the globe?
So, you know that I did okay, well, like, honestly, I feel that there is a great trend, like you were mentioning, business of fashion statement. Like everyone is getting really careful about the experience, the energy, the aesthetic they live in their homes. Or perhaps post pandemic, that has really accelerated the dynamics of elevating the design experience that we all try to recreate in our homes. And the fact is that the amazing you were talking about talent, right? And it's a talent among professionals, but at the same time, I think that we are all professionals of the industry stimulating consumers, clients to be also extremely creative themselves. And while this happens, everyone now tries to leverage on the beautiful assets like you create as creators of textiles or designs to be the designers of their own space. No matter if they include and involve an architect, but everyone wants to be, very selected and careful and detailed. And so I think bespoke is a trend that we should all look at, no matter you're a retailer or not. Like giving that bespokeness, that sense of tailor-made design is something that all brands should try to deliver on one end. And on the other, for a company like me, which the model is a bit hybrid, it's a retail, but you really have an experience at the store where you try to transform spaces with the client. It's really important that you help them, or you provide them a platform of creativity where the store manager or designer at the store and the client and the architect can all work in harmony together to design the space in a customized way. That is a trend. And then another thing that I discovered lately, I discovered it in Japan, which is a market that to some extent is the most innovative. We all often talk about sustainability, and to me, it came to a point which is honestly boring because it's really greenwashing over and over. Like, sustainability is like charity, right? If you do it, you don't need to say, oh, this year I gifted $1,000, did that. You do charity, that's it. Sustainability, you have it or you don't have it, that's it, finish. You don't need to say, hey, I'm sustainable. Otherwise, it's fake. It's the greenwashing. That's what I believe. So, but something that I've seen a retailer company in Japan doing, which I really love, is actually upcycling. Which, so there's a company, Arflex. And many of you would know Arflex. Arflex in Japan has this retail concept called Restore. Restore. They had this store in which all of the pieces are pre-owned. And if you think about how trendy is the word of vintage now, right? Not only in clothing, vintage, especially new generation, they love to buy that B&B Camaleonda couch, restore it, and put it in their home. You see all this. I'm mentioning companies that are competitors. Let's just be honest. That the reality is Lin Rose Togo Sopas on Instagram, and this is our old couches coming back because they're so actual. So I think that retailers and companies should interpret that in taking also that vintage market share and find a way to bring, clients who love their Natuzzi couch from 30 years ago, bring it back to the store and eventually restore it for them, sell them a new couch. So bring the vintage into retail. I think it's a trend that I haven't seen, if not in Japan. But if I would look at the future of how we should rethink retail, because honestly, it's very boring and dying, and thankfully there is architects that are taking projects in the dynamics. So otherwise, if it would be for clients walking in and buying that couch, it would be all that, I believe. So that is something we should definitely consider.
I think what Pascal has said is absolutely bang on. There is such a strong sense of belonging when you know that you have a product that has been appreciated or be used, but in a way with, by people from the past, and then suddenly it's antique, and now you're having it in your own home. There is a lux feeling on that. There's a feeling of all the stories that are embedded in that product, that have been that it has. So I think that interiors, the whole concept of interiors should be, something old, something new, something shiny, something blue. I mean, there's this one kind of thing that you have to keep understanding of how to make that space add on these various different stories that have been accumulating. And that's what, it's not only about these new products that we just die off the shelf. That's what I definitely believe as an interior designer.
And to add to that, I agree with what Pasquale was saying, that there are pieces in your own home or in your, family home that really are classic in style and form, and they never really lose their, their beauty. All you need to do is reupholster it. So just come to me, and I'll do it for you. Okay. So
There's a partnership started already there.
So yeah, just as a concept, I'll make you on it. You just change the fabric and it looks good as new. And you use the sofas the way they are, and you're attached to it, you enjoy it. And in fact, on a more serious note, this is a very interesting idea for my own store, which I may think in the future of trying to influence, where I can keep a space where I can, like you said, we give it a facelift, old furniture, and just give it what it needs to create that bespoke, customize it to the customer requirements, and he takes back something which he has owned, but just a little different, so that it now blends very easily into his new home. Or if he were to even gift it further down to his children or to his loved one, it's a piece that he's owned, it's been with the family, and he's just given it a little bit of a retouch and presented it to his loved one.
See,
Now, to winning idea.
when you're the only man surrounded by 3 lionesses, you immediately have to find a way to become a friend. Otherwise, they eat you alive. So I found my way in. Good job. Thank you.
And then that is also sustainable, right? Like what Pascal would say. Exactly. You pick up that blocker, that boss say. So coming to one question, which is more towards the social media segment, with now everything being so visible and so easily accessible via social media. Sussanne, do you feel there's often been this tension of creating spaces that photograph well versus spaces that feel genuinely lived in? How do you navigate that for your clients and yourself?
I think it's so important as a designer to be true to what you do. And when you create a space, you create it with that authentic feeling of who you're creating it for and what is the design philosophy that they like. And then you merge in what you like and you create an entire story, right? Now, how it gets photographed for your social media platform is all about creativity again. There are a million ways to photograph it. You cannot design something just so that it's photographed well. You got to design a space and understand all the 100 creative ways to photograph it. That also is it's how you present it. And I also feel that sometimes it can be social media is a great platform to have a closer understanding of products and technology and craftsmanship that is happening in all parts of the world and what you can imbibe into your design story. So it's definitely an asset to have, but to build your entire design business or your your entire kind of everything out of that as your base, I don't think that's a correct way to do it, because I am a little old school there. I feel that if you show too much, that also takes away the mystery of what you have, what you create for various properties. So it's very important what you show, what you don't show, and how you photograph it. Yes.
Very interesting. I mean, I think that's the right way to go. And Simone, do you feel social media has changed how we conceive spaces from your perspective as a curator and a retailer? Has this improved or limited design creativity?
Well, I look at it a little differently with regards to social media. Today, we have a very design conscious consumer, and through social media, we are looking at so many different ideas. People are getting inspired all the time, and you can pick what you like. Having said that, social media should be created in a responsible way, in an authentic way, and presented in the similar fashion for people to actually pick and choose what works with their business and how they can use it to further strengthen what they are doing. With regards to spaces, uh, consumers, I believe they should, or designers should design homes depending on people personalities, the people that reside in those homes, who they are or who they aspire to be. A home should be a reflection of your philosophy, your sensibility, and the designer has to do a research after meeting with the homeowners and deciding how they wish their home to be, how it meets, what is the story they want to tell, what is the story they want to live in their homes. And of course, the designer has so many options which social media is providing every day to be inspired from. And I use a lot of social media when it comes to my work. I go through Pinterest. I love to look at what others are doing to stay relevant and how I can improvise by adding better value to the end consumer, how color palettes are created, whether the internationally or locally, how textures are combined, how hard and soft is combined, general interiors. So I get a lot of inspiration looking at social media. Of course, I look at the responsible brands that I believe in, that I truly believe have a authentic story to be told. And from there, it starts. You begin, and then from there you build, and you build a connection, and you build a connection which you then present to the designers who picked from that connection and design homes. So it comes back to the LE consumer. So for me, social media works, but I have to say again, it must be responsible, and that's important.
Lovely. Pascal, there's been an interesting cultural shift as well. As they're moving away from the idea that luxury only flows in one direction. Indian artisans and craftspeople who were once overlooked are now being celebrated globally. And as someone rooted in Italian design tradition, how do you view this democratization of luxury and craftsmanship? And do you feel there could be a synergy in terms of collaboration?
I really don't believe that there is a strong democratization happening. My opinion, I believe that, you know, luxury brands are going higher and higher because certain type of customers are being very demanding and even less caring to some extent about the aspect of price. But since art and design are becoming one, and collectible design is also becoming so trendy, like I feel that the luxurious type of customers, these want to own something that, like you were saying before, can be timeless, something that is sculptural, something that can even gain value over time. So how can that be democratic? Like sometimes, any luxury furniture or design is very expensive. It's not democratic at all. Now, for sure, there's a strong connection between some companies that are more oriented to the premium, medium, entry level type of market, and these are definitely taking strong inspiration. So it is possible to purchase somehow a more affordable but still extremely vibrant and inspiring design today. Us as a company, we are moreover trying to be in line with the evolutional path of our company. So we are not really focusing on the product and how to make it democratic. The idea is to transform from a sofa-centric company into a company that now can really transform spaces through interior design. And when I see this as our go-to in the next future, I am extremely inspired to collaborate with the Indian design community of not only creators, but also makers. And I have been asked to make did you do that? The top 5 pick of the fair with the asked to put it video. I did it in the morning and I was so happy. I just arrived yesterday. They didn't wanted to give me the visa, but the Italian consul fought so hard and I made it and I arrived yesterday. And so I walked around to see what's happening here in ID Mumbai. And there is so much, not only creativity, but quality. And if we talk about sustainability, I was saying that in my video, everyone talks about that part of sustainability, which is again washing, so we can put that on the side. But something we forget is the human side of sustainability, which should cherish and nurture and care about who actually makes design possible today, the craftsmen behind the industry. And while in India, maybe you are maintaining that legacy better, in Italy, who grows or studies industrial design or studies, I don't know, law school to then be one day a woodworker making beautiful tables? Nobody wants to do that, right? So all the legacy of the Italian made in Italy somehow legacy is happening to disappear in few years, and we should talk about that to own our roots and protect them better. But here in India, I've seen a great level of detailing, engineering, quality in the making. So I really look forward to hopefully create a cultural and design connection with the Italian roots and Mediterranean heritage, but the eyes of the Indian design and creative community. Why not?
And that's amazing that all of you are at that position that you can take such decisions that, change the design narrative for the next generation. And that brings me to my next question also, that all your names are inseparable from your brands. What happens when your personal taste evolves? Does your brand evolve with you, or do you feel constrained by your own signature style? Like you were saying that you are more eclectic than your brand. So, I mean,
For me, it's really hard, it's really, really hard. And I have to say, I became, sorry if I can pila, and I became creative director of Natuzzi in 2017. I remember it was actually January, it was December 26th. Back then, we were going to the Cologne fair in Germany. Now we don't do that anymore. The fair is almost dead. And my father asked me to take over the creative direction for the Milan Design Week that was in April. So for normal people, but clearly at Natuzzi, me and my father, eventually, we don't have that asset in the DNA. For normal people, you take 1 year to do something nicely, detailing. So in that year, I remember in 4 months, I had to come up with a whole full 1,000 square feet of a booth collection. And that one was my first year. And over time, then I kept, I've been fortunate enough to believe in this idea of, design blend. I always thought that mixing sparkling water and still water, you just get water, you need to mix different substances to feel, sense, and see and experience something that can be different. So the designers that I called for actually are very different from the Natuzzi DNA. And finally, you see the Natuzzi DNA evolving and reshaping because Marcel Wanders, Sabima Seles, or whoever the designers that work on me brought a different substance in that bottle of still water, and then it started to be more colorful and tasty. Now, while I was experimenting with my own taste as an eclectic person, creative, I have made mistakes, I have made and created products that weren't fit or that were too ahead of time for what the market would have bought or accepted. And so, and a year and a half ago, my father decided to get back. He's a very young lion of 85-year-old, but it feels like 35 and looks like 55. But he came back, and he had something that initially I took personally. I was like, my ego was there. But then the ego should be in the company's success only. And he came back, and he felt that he had to re-establish and realign the creative somehow narrative with his idea of color, harmony, let's say mood boarding, whatsoever, or design or some things, and it did only good because as much as we can be very close to the brand or very far, what matters more is that the brand keeps the DMA solid. Look at companies like Hermes. As much as they can experiment, Hermes is there. It can always look creative. They can experiment with also crazy designers somehow, but the legacy is solid because the DNA is timeless. And same you can say of Armani, rest in peace, his great pit of soul. I think it's really important that as much as we can be creative and eclectic or very, minimalist whatsoever, however and wherever you want to place your creative soul, we should all care about maintaining the roots of our brands, who created them, and making sure that the legacy can stay and grow in coherence with who thought about it, but also interpreting, modern trends, new stories.
So I think that it's exactly like a great company, I think, is one that allows you to keep certain elements that you have been successful for, but then you also have to evolve and, catch in those various trends that you see, but how you perceive them, because a creative mind should be able to perceive a trend in their own way. And that is something that, defines a company from lasting it out through the years and through the decades of change. And something, it's not that bad an idea to sometimes stop thinking in the way you are thinking and start fresh, keeping in certain ideologies of like quality, of course, and finishing to what you have had in the past, but also like and comfort. And then as a creative company, because you're making furniture, because you're creating stories, because you're, doing an interior collaborative story, you must create new. You have to create. That's your responsibility as a designer, to keep coming up with new ideas. And how you showcase those ideas is what that season, and then the season goes, and then you go do it again. So it's very important to keep growing and adding, and definitely keeping your roots and your integral, points of what has made you, but to also keep adding certain new ways of thinking towards it. And I feel that's important.
So to add everything more to what Pascal started with, his father being the founder of his company, a legend, and Sussanne, a founder of her company. I was also co-founder of Du Decor and founder of Simone Naturally Inspired. So the word is authenticity. You have to try to tell your story. It's important to evolve and adapt to consumer needs. It's important to stay relevant and innovate. These are important things to do. Having said that, when I started my store Simone 11 years ago, it was all about neutrals and about a store inspired by nature, its forms, its styles. Everything was white. It was a neutral palette of colors with hints of sheen. There was a lot of driftwood, rock, stone, wood elements, furniture designed using all these elements. And it was a huge success. It was greatly appreciated. But after 2 years down the line, I realized I was in India. And in the Indian consumer reacts to color. And I had feedback from customers telling me that, we need some color. And that's when I started adding color pops. Of course, we had D-Decor then, and I was equally immersed into D-Decor as creative director. So we were always creating color palettes, different collections all the time. And then I said, yes, we need to venture into adding more colors, mixing colors, creating color palettes, listen to the consumer and giving him the solution that he needs. So today at the store, for example, we have neutral curated settings. We also have color coordinated settings, whether they are jewel tones, whether they are eclectic, even at the brand. The brand offers numerous connections. But as designers, it is our responsibility to make sure that the consumer finds what he needs, hear his story, and try to give him what he needs without moving away from your design philosophy. I believe our brands are an extension of who we are. the Simone brand is an extension of who I am. And similarly, I try to, through our home brand, which is Decor and FabriCare, we are trying to cater to different needs and requirements, which is why we made a nice, wholesome, product offering. And we just recently added the durability to it. So, of course, that's the added cherry on top feature, which we offer.
Lovely. Lots of new insight also, and also a lot to learn for all brand owners and all aspiring young leaders here today. Stay true to your roots, but also keep experimenting a little bit with what the consumer wants.
And so much joy and so much inspiration. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.